Next up is matters for library board action. The first item on the agenda is to consider amendment to the holidays policy, which is the HR policy regarding Juneteenth based on a memo from Director Farkas. And before I turn it over to the board for motion and discussion, I wanted to ask if Director Farkas had anything to add with regards to that item.
Thank you, Trustee Dooley. I would just like to take a moment to apologize to Trustee Mitchner and the board, because last month there was miscommunication on my end in terms of giving some information to you when we were talking about the Juneteenth date and how it was understood. I understood it as a closure, and then as I was looking at information that was quickly by me, I misspoke to you in terms of giving you some information. So I do want to apologize for that. I've given you some explanation as to some of the documents that once the meeting was over, I referred back to, went back to an email and communications that were used. And that's why I brought back tonight the information with the holidays policy for you to have further discussion on for the Juneteenth. So again, I apologize for that information. I should have asked for some time to review some information prior to speaking.
Yes, Trustee Mitchner, go ahead. Oh, you're on mute. I'm sorry. You're on mute. Yeah, go ahead.
It's funny because you hear your own voice, so you're like, everybody else hears it too, right? Thank you so much. I do appreciate the apology. I think, you know, it's for me, but I think it's also for the community that wants this date to be a paid holiday. You know, when we brought this forth in the beginning in June, it was a commitment to the Black community with the understanding that Black people were not free on the 4th of July. And this was a unanimous vote to make it just like the 4th of July. There was clarification that was reached later to make sure that it wasn't a staff development day or in-service day or anything of that nature. It really is just like 4th of July, because there was questions that first day on June 25th, if this is similar to Martin Luther King Jr. Day. And at that time I said no, because, you know, on 4th of July, we have barbecues and things of that nature. We don't sit and have education, although education is awesome. I gave clarification at that time, but it did come back. You know, could we look at certain days for this and certain days for that? And at that point, we were very clear, no, this is just like 4th of July. When I brought things back last month, I was really clear because I realized that if it wasn't put to a vote as soon as possible to make sure that it truly was considered just like 4th of July, that we run the risk of it, of the motive changing or the purpose changing. And I think that that's very detrimental to the trust of the Black community and those who support the Black community and also just support diversity and history as well. It's not just, even though it's celebrating something that happened to Black people, we can celebrate everybody in that way, right? So I felt like it was important to bring that in the proper way to the board. At that time, it looked like it was going in the direction that it would be something that was approved. I didn't want to just go from my memory because, you know, we do have a lot of things in our head, and I know I do. I've got a 7-year-old virtually schooling, so I'm not going to try to remember everything. So what I did was I went back to the transcript to make sure I was clear and as thorough as possible. So I'm going to read that. And I have people's names noted. So it says Julie. So imagine a colon there. I do believe it was a typo, Trustee Bitchener is correct. It is noted on other information I have with me and in front of me that it is a holiday. Trustee Wood, colon. If that is the case, is there a motion to be made then? President Augusta, colon. The motion is to have it as a paid holiday. Jeff interrupts. Maybe I'll reference back to Julie. Is it a paid holiday or is it just a holiday with time off? Julie, I understood when it was being approved in the summer that it was a paid holiday. President Augusta, colon. So it's just a typo. Julie, colon. I think so. Trustee Wood, colon. So back again, is there a motion? Is there something even to vote on at this moment in time? President Augusta, colon. There is not, except for Julie to make it a red H. So it is going to be noted as a paid holiday in our next packet. there was more discussion over the need for a motion. I asked both the attorney that was here at the time, which was Ann from Foster Swift at that time, not you, Tom, but it was Ann from Foster Swift. I said, okay, and I'll read what I said. I'd like to get clarification, if I may, Madam President, which at the time was President Augusta. She said, yes, please. And I said, I'm okay with withdrawing it as long as we're all clear it is a paid holiday. President Augusta said yes. Everybody nodded. This would not come back. I said, okay, thank you very much. President Augusta, Julie has said that it is a typo, will be listed as a paid holiday in the future. When you have something that clear, I don't know if there's really a mistake, that can be noted. Like, that's super clear, especially the words actually said, I understood it to be a paid holiday in the summer. So I have to say that I'm really hoping that we take the optics of this really seriously. It doesn't look good. It doesn't feel good. I think that this coming back a third time was dismaying for me, especially thinking that this is something that we covered already. So when it comes to matters for board action, I think it's extremely important that we think about DEI work. That's one of our focuses this year, right? Like, I'm the chair of that committee. We're really, we should be passionate about it, with our motto being inform, inspire, include. It looks like our Black community has had to restate things several times in order to be heard, and then it's brought back again and again and again. It doesn't feel good. So my thoughts is definitely, if we are going to put that to a vote, I would hope that I can implore us to vote as a paid holiday, like every other holiday that is actually on the calendar that is paid. Every other holiday is paid except for this one. That's stated as a holiday. So I'd like that to definitely be considered. It sounds like it needs to go to a vote to make sure it's ironclad, but I do think that's really important. I was dismayed to see this in the packet. I'll tell you, I was just dismayed.
Thank you, Trustee Mishner.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. So typically, how we've done our board meetings before is we bring a motion forth, if it's seconded or not, and then we have discussion. But Trustee Mishner, you started off the discussion. I'd like to keep that going before a formal motion's made, if you're okay with that.
Sure.
All right. So who wants to go next as far as my trustees on the board? Does anyone want to raise their hand? Trustee Crawford, go ahead.
Okay. The way I'm understanding this, if it's just for discussion now, had I been here at the last meeting and heard everything, I'm really concerned about all the, I'm new to the budget, so I'm new to the whole packet thing, and budget's not always my strong suit. But when I looked at page 23 of the budget, I was very concerned about all the lost revenue on page 23, which amounted to over approximately $90,000, upwards of $90,000. So in addition, the costs that we've had to incur that have to do with COVID, the additional PPE, and that's ongoing, and also the things in the library that have had to change, the shields and things like that, things that were not covered in grant money. And this is going to continue, and will definitely continue probably indefinitely here for the maybe the next 6 months or maybe even longer. We just don't know. So I can't justify adding an additional expense to the librry when we don't even know what all of our losses are going to be. So it is an expense to add a paid holiday. I have no argument, and I have nothing to say about the value of the holiday. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about expenses right now. And it's just something that I can't really justify adding any kind of expense to the budget. So that's my comments.
Thank you, Trustee Crawford. Trustee Shirakuri.
Thank you. My concerns are sort of twofold. Had I been there last week, I might have said, well, let me start. One thing that really outraged me this year was when Black History Month came and Amazon Prime decided the best way to feature Black movies was to promote Coming to America 2, which they had underwritten, produced, and distributed. I always fear our holidays becoming, I hate to say it, not to impugn the company, but another chance for ABC Warehouse to have a sale. In this case, by closing down the library on Juneteenth, you know, I mean, honestly, the schools are already closed, or at least the kids' minds are largely shut off there for summer. By closing the library too, you know, my personal preference would have been, that's a great day to really feature what this thing means, the importance of the Emancipation Proclamation and our other seminal documents to our country. But now a student will grow up in Novi, and neither at the schools nor here would you actually ever see on Juneteenth anything about Juneteenth. That's just my personal opinion. Again, it's, as Trustee Crawford said, it's not to the lack of importance of the day or what it means, but there are other considerations. And so one of those is, I was looking at what our current offerings are for our employees. And, you know, we have, in addition to 10 paid holidays, one of which is floating, 6 personal leave days, 12 sick days, and 10 to 25 days of vacation. And I think what you'll find is that vastly exceeds the offerings in the private sector and industry pretty much all across the state. In this year, and believe me, I appreciate all the hard work all the employees at the library have done, but this is a year where, if we're honest, in government, we've suffered a little less economically than the people in the private sector have. And so, you know, it just doesn't look good this year, or to be adding benefits at a time when everyone else is trying to get by. And I believe as we have floating holidays, that does, and personal leave days, for the individual who wants to celebrate, it does give them the capacity to celebrate, whether it be Veterans Day, President's Day, the Constitution Day, Juneteenth, Gandhi Jayanti, other big holidays of personal importance or of importance. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Shirakuri. Anyone else? Trustee Bartlett.
Yes, I similar to the previous speaker, I looked at the holiday list. Currently, our employees get 10 paid holidays. As a new trustee, I'd like to see how that compares with other folks in the city and everywhere else. My last job, I worked for a fairly small company whose benefits were managed by ADP. They told us 10 was the standard in the US. And again, if we're looking to fund this and we want to make a motion that says we replace the floating holiday with Juneteenth, I'd have no problem. That makes the whole thing revenue neutral, where it is, if it's not revenue neutral, as the previous speaker indicated, this year we're down with revenue, all that sort of thing. The other thing, looking at the holiday list as a new person, I was a little bit shocked that 2 of the holidays that are normally somewhere in the private sector are not on our list. And those 2 are President's Day and Martin Luther King Day. Martin Luther King Day, I was told that the library thought that it was better because students are off, to promote Martin Luther King on that day than to close the library. But again, 10 holidays is a pretty standard package. I'd really like to see how that compares to other folks in the city before we say, okay, we're going to boost benefits. What do our firefighters see and so forth? Because, even though we are a separate entity, they are, city employees are kind of one group. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Yu or Trustee Wood, would you like to go next?
I'll wait till after the motion.
Okay.
In terms of comment-wise, I don't have any additional comments.
Okay, thank you. So right now we've had some discussion, and what I'd like to ask for is a motion, and the motion that's on the table, just to clarify for everybody, is whether or not Juneteenth is a paid or non-paid holiday. It is a holiday. The question on the table is whether it be paid or non-paid, and I want to make sure everybody's clear on that. So with that, does somebody want to make a motion? Trustee Mishner, please.
Thank you. And thank you for clarifying that it's already a holiday. That sounds like there was some confusion there. I would like to make a motion for Juneteenth to be approved as a paid holiday, just like 4th of July.
Thank you, Trustee Mishner. Do I have a second?
I can second that.
Thank you, Trustee Yu. Is there any further discussion? Trustee Wood.
Yeah, I'll take my time now that we have a motion to discuss my viewpoint on this. I do think, number one, there's a lot of value in this day off. I've been very vocal and voted to have the day off. I'm also strongly behind the DEI initiatives. I feel, though, it's prudent for us, because there is a cost to make this a paid holiday, that we should really focus what we would, instead of having this as an internal paid holiday, to use those funds for the community for DEI efforts. I think that's more important. I think that's really what our focus should be on. It should be supporting the community and bringing everyone together. And I think that those funds would be better suited for that than making it a paid holiday.
Thank you, Trustee Wood. So I'll go next or last, unless Trustee Yu, do you still not have any comments? You're good. Okay. So thank you, everybody, for giving your feedback and your comments. I was doing a lot of research when it came to Juneteenth, because I think, like a lot of people in the community and beyond, they didn't understand the validity or the importance of the holiday. And I know that that's not being called into question today, because that day is taken off, and we made that happen last summer with Trustee Mishner championing that. I'm a firm believer that the times are changing. There are a lot of companies that are developing this as a paid holiday and putting this on their package. There's also been a lot of support. It's almost 17 years now. I don't know if people are aware that Juneteenth has been recognized by the state of Michigan. It's not a formal holiday, but it has been recognized in terms of the importance of the celebration. And because the spirit of the holiday is independence and emancipation, it's supposed to be treated like July 4th. And with that, I still support the idea of it being a paid holiday like July 4th. That's why I'm in support of that. But I do appreciate everybody's feedback, because all of it was important. So if there's no other further discussion, I'd like to call us on a roll call vote, please. Trustee Yu.
Absolutely. Trustee Bartlett.
No.
Trustee Chirikuri.
No.
Trustee Crawford.
No.
Trustee Dooley.
Yes.
Trustee Mishner.
Yes.
Trustee Wood.
No.
Trustee Yu, yes.
Okay, motion doesn't carry. Thank you.